What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets Haber, who looks like he's coming. He's like me these days. You got sheets all over the place, and I'm
Yep.
sitting in my normal area. Like, tell us about where you're at. You're on your way to the Hamptons for the weekend, which sounds nice. And then we'll get into the slate.
Yeah, I mean, this is a kind of a satellite office that I can use sometimes, just going back and forth. Yeah, I was sort of, first of all, sorry about yesterday. The live stream, it was a freaking Hurricane Elsa or whatever in Rhode Island. It just knocked me out. Was able to get, at least I was able to get to my phone and get lineups done, which was freaking crazy. Yeah. Yesterday was interesting though, because I did kind of, you didn't really need to do this, but like the optimal, as I was mentioning, probably left money on the table. I think half what might have been the best pitcher.
I don't know if it did though, because all the guys that went off were the expensive guys from San Diego and Washington.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Maybe. So I kind of lost track. I didn't have any of those guys like going in the San Diego Washington game really to help me. So I just kind of just stopped paying attention. I didn't really do that all that well in baseball last night. Yeah, you get it. I saw what's his name was I did actually see that you had one line up in the big one, which was cashing, right? I thought so.
Yeah, I did. I cashed in the big one. I ended up making like about 30% on the night, but I would have.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, okay. It wasn't bad. It was every night's been a winning night this week, which just feels good for, it's been a little bit of a rough patch before that, but
that's excellent.
Nothing huge. Unfortunately, I was fortunate enough that I had a rule that I had at least one player from Washington and one player from San Diego in every lineup that I didn't have Scherzer and Darvish, and I only played 35% Scherzer and Darvish. So and mostly together. So I had one of Turner or Tatis in all those lineups, and I had Soto, and I had there were some other guys, even Escobar, like everybody else. I didn't get the whole stack in there, so I didn't win the tournaments, but I did have some sort of the right idea. At least I thought. I just didn't expect those guys to get quite as hard as they did. But again, I finished second in like the $25 single entry, so some good stuff. But
nice.
I'm ready for this big one tonight. I'm excited. I think this is going to be we've got a big tournament on DraftKings, a big tournament on FanDuel, and I'm going to play pretty big tonight because I kind of like this weird slate. To give an overall point of view on the slate, I don't really. I mean, we're going to be paying almost 10K for Charlie Morton, and we're going to be supposed to be playing Kenta Maeda, who hasn't thrown more than like 80 pitches in a million years, with the exception of the one last start he had against KC. I'm fine with it, but it's not. It just gives you an idea. It's a rough pitching slate, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
I will tell you this, man. I thought that you were gonna get all of it. I wasn't on there, so I didn't know who you ended up playing. But when I saw the Brewers load up the freaking bases in the first inning and Molly couldn't find the plate, I'm like, oh my God. And then I saw Scooble cruising over in Detroit. I was like, oh my God, this is somehow Bobby has Scooble and the Brewers. And then, Molly got his shit together, and then they left what's his name out. Scooble just won too many innings.
Yeah.
But that was you were right on the cusp.
Yeah, that was sort of my story of most of my days today. The early slates, I literally finished on the bubble on DraftKings and FanDuel in the big ones, which was frustrating. Always frustrating to have that $1,200 swing or whatever. All right, man. Why don't you pull your screen up and we'll jump through today's slate.
Yeah. So let's how do I do this? All right. Let's. Okay.
Okay. Cool. All right. So, Chicago, Baltimore. I am not going to play Dallas Keuchel. I don't think it's the worst thing on this slate, but I'm not going to do it. I actually think that there's an argument to be made for Jorge Lopez because of how bad this slate is and his price, but I just can't pull the trigger. I don't think I'm going to be able to pull the trigger. There are some strikeouts in those White Sox lineup. You have a 4.5K prop on a guy who's 5.3K, who, if he pitches well, has a leash to pitch for 6+ innings. It just doesn't feel great. You know what I mean? I don't think I'm getting to these pitchers, and I do like the White Sox a little bit as a stack. I also like Santander. Santander and Hayes are just way too cheap, so I will take some shots with those guys as well.
All right, a couple of thoughts. First of all, Baltimore, whatchamacallit? I think Lopez is okay. I mean, I'm not going to go out of my way to play him, but at 5,300, I mean, when on a slate where pitching is kind of sketchy, You know, I think he's playable. And then, you know, dude, it's a $6 tournament on DraftKings tonight. So you play a lot of lineups. You can get to a lot of these dudes.
Yeah, he probably won't be in my 888 lineups.
What's that?
Probably not in the 888 lineups, the big 150K.
Probably not, but yeah, he's in play for a little bit for me. And then as usual, Baltimore is like one of my top stacks on the slate from a value perspective. You know, Keuchel, it's is this year the year of the lefties with tricks or whatever, or is it the year that they all get smoked? But I do like Baltimore here, and I like Santander, who you mentioned, along with Austin Hayes. The one guy I didn't get to White Sox really as stacks, but I will mention Adam Engel at 3K as kind of a one-off that I'm just kind of looking at right now, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I can get behind the Angle thing. Actually, I didn't even realize his price was that low, and he would probably be hitting higher in the order. And you know, I just think they're one of the stacks in a great hitters park against Lopez, who doesn't strike a lot of good people out, even though again we kind of like him a little bit. I do think that there definitely is a case to be made for the White Sox stack, and I agree that Angle, Brian Goodwin, and then you can pay up for the Moncada and Abreu if you want to. Abreu is really expensive. He's 6K today, or Gavin Sheets you could use as well. Atlanta, Miami. Morton, I think, is going to be the most popular pitcher on the slate, or at least one of the two. And I can't really argue with it on this slate. He's got a 6.5K prop. He's 9.6K. Now you've got this kid, Zach Thompson. Okay. He's got a 5.5K prop. He's 6,900. He's pitched well. Like, he's actually pitched this. The problem is, this is the third time facing Atlanta, but he's put up 24 and 16 in the two previous starts. I'm open to it. He's on my list. I'll put it that way. I don't love it. It is a huge park downgrade for Atlanta. They do have only a 3.9 projected run total. Like, maybe this Zach Thompson might be something we're going to end up on. I'm going to have to dig a little further into it, but on pitch type and whatnot. But I do think Zach Thompson is on my list right now.
Yeah, I don't have to play Charlie Morton. He's probably, you know, one of the better plays, but I don't have to play him as chalk. I just don't. That's the best way I can describe it, just based on what I'm looking at right now. I mean, he's got a lot of guys that can play, and Charlie Morton at 9,600 is the most popular guy on the slate. I like playing Charlie Morton at 7, you know, like we have been at 7,400. You know what I mean? I don't know if I need to play him at 9,600. I know Miami's, you know, kind of a team we want to go after, but if I'm playing like a one, like in the 880, is there what's today, the 888, right? I don't think I'm gonna do that. I do have some interest in that Zach Thompson guy as a lower owned, you know, kind of a semi cheapo SP2, as you were mentioning. I do kind of like that a little bit. Again, I don't know if I have the balls to put it in the 888, but he's certainly he is certainly going to be on my list of people to get in the, you know, if I play 20 entries, I think I might get to him, maybe one or two, but we'll see about that. And with respect to the hitting, I did not really get to much of anybody, whether it be Atlanta or Miami. I guess that park is tough, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I am.
Yeah. So we both are on the same page. I actually like Thompson, I think, a little better than you do.
Okay.
But I just will keep saying this. This kid, Jesus Sanchez, is talented. If there was one weird guy to take at 2.2K, they haven't raised the price on yet, that would be the guy for me. Maybe Alfaro is a one-off even, but I don't think I'm probably going to end up doing it by the end of the slate. I just have him on my list as a cheapo. Pittsburgh and the Mets, which is a game that I feel more optimistic may play than what I would have thought earlier this morning. And now you have the weird situation where Brubaker, who was going to be unowned on a tiny slate, and now is going to have pretty decent ownership on a big slate. Still kind of like Brubaker. The weird part is, Sheets, and try and explain this one to me. How come Brubaker had a 5.5K prop yesterday in the same matchup, and Taijuan Walker had a 4.5K prop? And today, Taijuan Walker has a 6K prop, and Brubaker has a 4.5K prop. I don't understand this. We don't even have umpire data, so it can't be that. I don't even know what the hell's going on with this. Does that make any sense to you? I don't think I've ever seen that before.
I would imagine that you misread one of them.
No, I didn't. I went through it on multiple different sources yesterday because I was surprised about it. That's why I wasn't, because I remember I was talking about how I wasn't going to play Walker at chalk, and I actually think Taijuan Walker, I like him a little better than I did yesterday. I'm trying to look at Pittsburgh's lineup. Is there a difference that I'm missing in the actual lineup? Not really. Nagowski, Olivia, maybe. I don't know. I really can't figure it out. So mild interest in both these guys for me. How about you?
Yeah, I like them both. I like Taijuan Walker as a pivot to Charlie Morton. I mean,
Same ownership roughly, by the way.
Oh, I have my initial has like I have Morton like 40% and Taijuan Walker like 20.
I had Walker at 35, but I got.
I mean, again, it's barely 12:30.
Yeah, of course.
But so we'll keep a lookout on that. But Brubaker, I agree with you for the same reasons that we thought he was playable yesterday. I don't have him getting owned today, so we'll see we'll see how ownership kind of plays out. But I do think the game's going to play. By the way, the weather's really grim right now, but it's supposed to clear out of here. Okay. So I do think that the Mets, I don't think there's much of an issue over there unless it floods. That's I don't know because it has been flooding, so I don't know if they could do like permanent damage to the field that way. But I presume in this, technology, I'm sure they figure that out. So yeah, I like Taijuan Walker. I like little JD Brubaker. I don't like any of him.
Yeah, I would. If you are a prop better out there, I would take the over on the Brubaker strikeouts, which basically means I like him as a pitcher. So yeah, no interest in the hitting for me as well. We've got plenty of great spots to attack today. I don't think we need to mess around with this game. Philly and Boston, not. Okay, so Vince Velasquez has enough talent to where you could argue at 6.5 is way too cheap for him. This is a really tough spot with the wind blowing out at Fenway. The problem is, I mean, the one thing in his favor is it's not as hot as it has been. It's it's only like 70 degrees there. Only has a 4.5K prop. I don't think I'm using any of him, and I absolutely love Philly, and I like Boston.
Couldn't agree with you more. I think Philly is one of the top options on the slate, if not the top option on the slate. And I feel as though Boston is a very legitimate, I don't want to even say pivot, but I think Boston's a very legitimate option too. I have the two of those as top 5 stacks for me. And they're in the same stadium, so they correlate. Like if you got a good umpire, he's good for both teams, supposedly. If you get a good win, you get a good win for both teams, supposedly. So I like that as a game stack, if that's the way to describe it. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, so I just want to put, so by the way, Brad Miller hit 3 home runs yesterday. That's pretty incredible. He did it in the Wrigley game, but he hit it. He's a lefty. He went the other, he's not hitting into the wind exactly. So it's a little different for him, but I don't even have him in the projected lineup, which would be hilarious. If a guy hits 3 home runs, you don't even get him in the lineup, but he would be a priority play. And it's not just because he hit 3 home runs. He's 3.2K, probably batting higher in that Philly order. I'm going to guess. I mean, I honestly don't know what their lineup's going to shake out like today, but I would be really, what are you doing if you don't play a guy against a righty when he's lefty? And like, this doesn't make any sense. But I do love this Philly side. I'm just curious to see how the lineup shake out. I think Real Muto and Bryce Harper are the cash game plays. And then you get into McCutchen, Segura, Herrera, Baum. I like all of them. Didi, Rhys Hoskins.
Oh, Real Muto got priced down, huh?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Well, he's been pretty bad, but you know who hasn't been bad, by the way, and just had a few bad streaks this season. But Rhys Hoskins is become a beast. He's gotten back to being Rhys the Beast again. He's gonna. Was on pace to hit 40 home runs. He's gonna drive in over 100 runs, and no one's really talked about him because he had such two huge slumps earlier in the year. But this guy is well worth the price in upside against Garrett Richards, and I just think that they're gonna light Garrett Richards up. Garrett Richards has made me wrong before. He's also made me right before. But I I think Philly is one of the priority stacks. The problem is, even on a big slate, they're going to be pretty owned. But I think there's ways you can stack around it. People aren't going to play the bottom of the order, whether it's Baum or Herrera, things like that. That's what you do. Or even Rhys Hoskins at his price is going to be hard to play. for some people. So I really like that side. And on the Boston side, I don't really, I think this is an important game, so I'm spending a little more time on it. I don't really know, other than JD, who I want to pay all the way up for outside of stacks. It's sort of like the problem I sometimes run into with Houston and the Dodgers. More Houston than anybody. You have these expensive bats, but like Verdugo makes sense because he's cheap enough. And Velasquez struggles with lefties. But other than that, do I want to pay 5.7 for Devers? But then again, everyone else is going to feel this way too. So it's hard to figure out the one-offs outside of stacks for Boston for me. Anybody for you that stands out other than JD?
No, like he was saying, I like, I guess, I like Verdugo, I suppose, and Renfro. And I don't want to pay that much for Devers either. So I might end up with Boston being just kind of a couple of two mans and stuff like that, and one mans or whatever. Dahlbeck's cheap, right?
Dahlbeck is 2.6. Yeah, probably batting in the bottom of the order.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think I don't know if I want to use my first base slot on him today, but that's what I'm saying is that with Boston outside of the stacks, it's kind of tricky to figure out these one-offs sometimes because of the prices, Devers and Bogarts. I just like other players better at those positions. All right, you ready to skip up over to Toronto, Tampa Bay?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Manoah, who was going to be 1% owned if that game didn't cancel against Baltimore yesterday. And now you've got him, he's probably going to be 20+% owned against Tampa Bay, who's a better team, obviously, than Baltimore. I still kind of like him, and I mean, that's what you're going to hear from me with a lot of pitchers today. I kind of like him. That's pretty much where I'm at. But at the same time, shouldn't we maybe just look on the other side? And I don't know. I don't know if I can take a guy against the Blue Jays. He's at home. McClanahan has got great stuff. The first time seeing him, Blue Jays barely have a 4-run total, which you never see out of the Blue Jays. Both of these guys have 6.5 K props. I've got to double check these K props because these seem like really high. And that's a really high K prop for these prices. So I definitely have interest in Manoah and McClanahan. I honestly have them rated about the same. That's what you're going to hear with everybody. I mean, it's really close. That's why Morton will stand out. That's why Walker will stand out to people. At least they're familiar names. But these guys both have really good stuff. And there's enough strikeouts on the Tampa Bay side. And there's not usually in Toronto, but it's a huge park downgrade for Toronto. And McClanahan can create his own strikeouts. So I have interest in both these guys. That's where I'm at. I'd like to see the umpire data once we get it.
Yeah, I don't think Manoah is going to be as owned as you might think because he's the exact same price as Maeda, and I think people are going to play Morton Maeda just quite a bit. Not that Manoah is going to be unowned, but I think he'll be significantly lower owned than Maeda, for example. Yeah, I like him. He's like one of my top pitchers, and hope ownership stays low. I mean, those are the two guys I kind of have to watch are the Manoah and Walker, right? Because Walker's going to be competing with the Morton money for that type of tier, and Manoah's going to be competing with Maeda money for that type of tier. So I have to kind of see where that kind of plays out. And then, like you said, I mean, the guy who's going to just probably fall between the cracks is Brubaker after all that, right? So maybe in the end, we get Brubaker under at 5% after all that's said and done. I don't know. We'll see.
I should clarify.
But I do like Manoah.
Right. Keep going.
What's that?
I was going to clarify my thing. I thought you were done. My bad. Keep going. You like Manoah, but you're not interested in McClanahan at all.
No.
Okay, so I'm just going to point out McClanahan has actually faced this team before. And by the way, I mean, yeah, I just believe in this guy. I don't like this matchup at all for a lefty, but I think McClanahan has really good stuff. All right,
he certainly throws it hard.
He does. A game where we won't be using pitchers, although I could maybe. No, you can't get me to do it today on FanDuel, I guess, but like the price is more tempting over there. I don't think I can play either of these pitchers, and I also, unlike maybe some of the people out there, I don't have any interest in this game. Outside of Jose Ramirez. I think ownership here, and I just am not going to be one of them.
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't like either the pitchers, and second of all, I like Kansas City. Boy, I got really unlucky yesterday. I had all kinds of Kansas City and Cleveland stuff, and just didn't. And then then just didn't have the right combination of them together. It was like really screwed. And then like even Reyes with the big bomb to end the game, and I'm like, oh, this is the lineups I have Reyes in. Why don't I have him with Santana on the other side? You know what I mean? Like I guess I got unlucky with my construction, I guess a little bit. I don't know. But I do like Kansas City a little bit. The same, and they're going to be probably owned too. The same cheap guys as always. You know, O'Hearn, Taylor, Benintendi, Hunter Dozier. So I do like them. Although it took them a while to get going. I mean, like you were even called that. You're like, I don't want to mess with Plesac. Plesac was like throwing all kinds of crap and junk in case he couldn't do anything with it. Yeah. It took until they get to the bullpen before they could really do anything. And then, so I do like Kansas City, and I do think Cleveland is, no, not really. So not really Cleveland, but I definitely like a little Kansas.
Yeah, I think they're going to have some ownership. I'm not especially on. I think that Soler, Benintendi make the most sense in this game, but Jose Ramirez I did sort of brush over him. I really like Jose Ramirez today. He's the one guy who really stands out, and I think that Cesar Hernandez. But I'm not going to probably end up getting to many of them, so I didn't want to spend time. Even Reyes, like these guys are all good plays. I want that Boston game. I have interest in the White Sox, and interested in a couple games that we've got coming up. So that's the only reason why I'm avoiding a full stack of either of those, but maybe a mini stack from KC or Cleveland is fine. All right, you want to talk about Texas and Oakland? Another one of these. I'm not going to play Cole Irvin at this price. No? I don't think it's the worst idea though, and I'm surprised. I mean, you're not seeing any ownership on him, right?
No, I'm seeing a little ownership on my board. I mean, like I have a little of him actually.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do it, but I kind of am wondering why I had him crossed off because this is. I mean, he's one of these guys, and he's going to be low owned. So why don't we play the low owned ones?
Right.
It's Texas against the lefty. Texas's best hitters, as we all know, are lefties. I don't know. And I'm not going to pick on. I want to pick on Lyles every time he pitches, but I'm not going to pay these prices and pick on him in this particular game. In fact, I think you could even make an argument for these pitchers with how ugly the slate is, both of them. But I'm not going to get to any hitting in this game, I don't think. Joey Gallo would be the only one I would consider, even in a lefty-lefty, but there's no reason to get that cute, I don't think, on this slate.
Yeah, I didn't get to any of the hitting here, and I mentioned I got to one or two Cole Irvin lineups, but solely because of the ownership.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Okay, Eric Lauer and Wade Miley in a game that's got a lower projected total than I would have thought. They're too expensive probably for me to play. They do have an extreme pitchers umpire and Doug Eddings. 5.5K prop for both. I'm not going to get there. I could absolutely make a case for the hitters in this game. It's a big slate. I don't think I'm going to have to do that. So I'm probably going to be off of this.
Yeah, I had this game as pretty much a cross off, but let me just double check that. I had neither pitcher, and I just wasn't getting to either of them as hitting either. I just a cross off, can I tell you?
Yep. Maybe just the only thing I would say is keep an eye out in the lineups. We know that Suarez is good against lefties. If for some reason something happened, I don't think it would. I can't really see what it would be, but you see Taylor or Aquino at the top of the lineup for some reason. I think they're both viable at their cheap prices, but those are the only guys I would consider in this game, really. So we've got Odorizzi and Cortez, who's just basically going to be a Yankee bullpen game. Not going to play either of these pitchers. Likewise, I don't think I'm going to get invested in the hitting in this particular game either.
I don't know. I think I could play a little in New York. Not priority, but as kind of a I don't know. I'll have them in 20 max stuff. I don't think Odorizzi's anything to write home about, honestly. And yeah, that's it. I mean, I think the Yankees are fine. I mean, I wish I had more of a deeper dive than that. They're just coming up for me as like kind of a secondary stack that I'm not going to rush to get into, that I won't mind if I get some of.
Yeah, I guess that it's interesting. Like Judge's price is down to 5K, Sanchez at 48, and Stanton at 46. All of those guys I think are okay. I'm going to take a quick look while we're here just to see. I know he used to be a much better pitcher than he's actually been decent, but I'm going to take a quick look at BVP because we should have some decent history from Odorizzi versus this team as a whole. I don't think it's going to be like a massive sampling, but it should be like a decent one. Let's see. That's pretty big. It's 100 at bats. Nobody like outrageously standing out, but neither is Odorizzi. Yeah,
I mean,
okay. Basically,
they're all right. I mean, you know what? I'm putting them alongside with Cleveland, just teams that I really don't really want to. I mean,
I'll tell you what.
they're just middle of the road plays, and you know, you probably shouldn't even play the Yankees unless you have a good reason to. I mean, they're always kind of not always. They just tend to be more owned than they could be. But then sometimes nobody plays them. I don't think this is one of those times nobody plays them.
I think this is one of those times nobody plays them outside of maybe Gary Sanchez because he stands out as being an elite catching option. But Aaron Judge maybe, but I don't think people are going to play Stanton. I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting picking a one-off. Maybe I would put that in my one-off thing, Yankee one-off, because they have just with the power bats when no one's going to play them. These guys are all multi-home run potential every game they play. So,
and you can't play Houston.
I don't want to play against a bullpen game against a good bullpen, even though they've been bad this year. I just overall these are good pitchers they have. I don't need to get involved in it. You don't even have the lefty righties right, so you don't even know who's going to play what thing. I don't know who's going to be in the lineup. Maybe if we got my boy Chaz, if he was in the lineup at the top of the order, maybe I would play some of him. Maybe if they move Straw around, you never know. Houston does mix up their lineup every now and then. They put Toro in that 2 spot. Something like that, I could get a little bit of value, but I just don't see playing them on a full slate here as being a good option for me. Maybe Jose Altuve as a one-off or something. I don't know. It's just not my favorite spot.
I don't know in the next game if it's better to play Maeda or the Tigers.
Probably not.
It's really unclear. Probably should play some of both though.
Wait a minute. What's the Tigers' argument? Make the case here.
I don't know. They're cheap, and Maeda's going to be 100% owned, and they, I don't know. They're good values. I don't know.
I mean, they're cheap. I'll give you that.
Maeda's like really that good. I mean,
Maeda's an excellent pitcher. He just hasn't been healthy this year, which is sort of one of his downfalls. You know what I mean? But even when he's come back, like this is a guy who he'll give up some power. Don't get me wrong, but like it's not like Detroit has any power.
Yeah, I guess. But I do like them a little bit as a value, like maybe like Baltimore. Actually, probably less than Baltimore.
Yeah.
But I do think Minnesota's. I mean, they're gonna be really well owned. I imagine. Minnesota's a top play, right?
I would think so. I don't think it's funny. I think they'll be popular. People will talk about them a lot. I don't think people will play them a ton.
Well, that's interesting.
Because there's just enough other places in the slate where people are going to naturally go to, and the bats in the Minnesota order that you want, like Nelson Cruz is 5.9. That's expensive. Josh Donaldson is 5.3. And these guys, we generally play more against lefties. Kepler has been terrible this year, although he did hit a home run the other night off of a lefty, I believe. But you've got Kepler. My favorites are actually the other guys, Kepler, Kirilloff, Larnach. Larnach, one of my top plays on the slate overall. Again, I'm going to bet on this kid. If people really aren't going to play him at 2.8K, just give it to me every time. I'll take it every single time. He's a talented kid. He's batting in the middle of a good team with either the highest or second highest run total on the slate, I think. And then you could Arias is the one everybody always likes to play because he's actually a really good hitter. He just doesn't have any power. So it's if you're going to play Arias, make sure it's a part of a stack, in my opinion. And even then, I probably tend to like to leave those guys out a little bit more. But you get the cheap Rortfrit at catcher, and then you could always play the Donaldson Cruz with the Larnach, Kirilloff, Kepler, some combination of those guys. That's the way I would do that. I really like Minnesota, so they would be, as of all the stacks we've talked about, they'd be my second favorite right now. They let me down enough times this year, but I'm willing to let them give me one more time. All right, Washington. God, this is a slate, man. It's a lot of stuff going on. Washington, San Francisco. I'm not going to do anything in this game whatsoever. I just can't find any route to getting to anything. Am I missing anything to you? Maybe is Alex Dickerson, if he's in the lineup, you can make an argument for him, I guess, at 3.1. But I just can't see getting to anything here, really.
I honestly felt the same way about the both these next games. Yeah, I wasn't getting anything in Washington and San Francisco at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's just nothing to do here. Okay, so I'm not going to do the Dodger thing tonight. I'm tempted to pick on Arizona every time a good team goes up against them, because if you get past the starter, this bullpen sucks. Like, they're awful. It's a nice day here in LA, and the Dodgers have a 5.4 run total. It feels kind of weird not to have interest in them. Caleb Smith is a good pitcher, in my opinion. That's what I'm struggling with. I'm not a good pitcher. He's an adequate pitcher. And I don't know who I'd want to play exactly, but if I make a bunch of stacks and I don't have the Dodgers as one of them, I'm probably going to regret it because of, I'm telling you, this bullpen can really explode. And the Dodgers are, again, I think one of the 2 or 3 best offenses in baseball, with the second highest run total or third highest run total on the slate. Maybe we should be having some interest here. I just personally, outside of Mookie, I don't really want, like, Caleb Smith is not that bad. I don't know.
Are you sure he's even starting?
I have him as the starter right now, and it doesn't make sense. That's why I was surprised about the run totals. Maybe he's not. That's who I've got currently as the starter. Who do you have?
I have no idea. I mean, it says Widener in the DraftKings app, but then it says he's probably going to go to minors. So I have no idea.
Okay, so let's go if it's not Caleb. I mean, Caleb Smith is not that he's like this elite electric stuff, but 6 innings, 5 innings, 6 innings, 6 innings. His last, start since he really started getting going. He had 20 fantasy points last time against the Dodgers. I'm not suggesting playing him, obviously, but if he was pitching, if he's not pitching, that would make more sense why the Dodgers have this high of a projected run total. And by the way, if it's anybody else, literally any other pitcher for Arizona, I think you can load up the Dodgers as one of the top stacks. I really do.
Yeah, I'll tell you though, I haven't been blown away so far by any hitting environment that we discussed.
Boston's got the wind blowing out pretty good.
In Philadelphia, you mean? It's
in Boston.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that would be the closest thing. But
you're right, though.
I don't know, man. What aside from that, though?
It's cooler out there today. You're right. The Dodgers actually have a decent hitting environment. You got a little wind blowing out, 75 degrees at game time. Like, or let's double check. Hey, Google, what will the temperature at Dodger Stadium be at 8 p.m.?
Today at 8 p.m. in Dodger Stadium, expect a temperature of 73 degrees.
Okay, so even at 8 p.m. it's still going. Okay. That's decent. That's warmer than it is in Boston. So yeah, I mean, if we get a different pitcher than Caleb Smith, I'm pretty much anyone else for Arizona. I can't think of anybody else I'm afraid of. Maybe I wouldn't pick on Zach Gallen as hard, but I would honestly take these Dodgers against anybody else Arizona throws. So we'll see who the actual starter ends up being.
I'll just tell you, I'm not particularly petrified of Caleb's.
Yeah, but do you want to stack against him on a full slate is the only thing I was asking. Well, I don't know. I mean, he doesn't really get lit up, but okay. I think he's actually the best arm they have. I really do. All right, let's talk about Colorado, San Diego. So did I miss something here? Is this a late? You do have Blake Snell as the pitcher, right?
No.
Who do you have as the pitcher? What is going on?
I have Stanman and Freeland.
Okay. So if I don't understand why I've got Blake Snell there, but if it was Blake Snell, I would definitely have interest in Blake Snell.
I don't know. We have to see. I mean, I don't know. I'm just looking at the DraftKings thing. It's like,
yeah. Freeland, I'm not going to play, but probably deserves a little more consideration than we're going to give him, which is not going to be much. But I do think that he's another one of these other guys who's actually put up, the only difference is he's actually put up 20, 22, 26, and 16 in his last 3. Nothing special, but 2 of those were in cores, of course. I'm not going to play him. I'm just mentioning him as an adequate pitcher. And I don't think he's going to get lit up here. And I know people are going to want to play San Diego. Outside of Tatis, I will not be one of them.
Neither will I.
Actually, maybe people won't play San Diego, but I do think that they, their run total stands out a little bit. So,
I tell you people might play.
Who's that?
Alex Cobb.
Okay, let's talk a little Alex Cobb then. I think you're pretty right about that, and I think you kind of have to always have interest in the pitchers against Seattle. It's an awful lot to pay for Alex Cobb. So how do you feel about Cobb at, like, let's say he's 20% owned? Where do you stand on that?
That's probably a tough decision point. If I was kind of hoping that that's the problem. I mean, you can't hope that anybody against Seattle is going to be low owned because they always play it. And they always just play them. And 9,800 it's a lot of money, man. It just is. So I probably am not going to get there if you want to know the truth. As tough as it is to fade guys against Seattle, I just feel as though 9,800 is just going to, you just need too much. You just need too much.
Yeah, maybe you do. Go ahead.
I've tried to play some Marco Gonzalez with very, very terrible results for me at much lower prices. So I'm not playing him at 9,500 today.
Yeah, I don't think that we can even consider him. Yeah, I'm not interested in the bats particularly in this game. I definitely have some interest in Cobb. I just don't know where I stand in relation to everyone else. I'm going to put the Dodgers as a question mark for my stacks.
So, I mean, we really do have to figure out some stuff like who's actually starting the Padre game, like with Snell, who's actually starting the Dodger game, right? So there's some, and again, for those of you guys who are watching this, I mean, this is probably free and will always be these little slate breakdowns, and you get what you pay for. It's an early look where we have really no idea what's going on.
Well, no. I got some takes on this one. I'll go a little further than that. We say that all the time. You said it the other day on our live show. You said we're not really saying anything here, and I'm like, well, you ended up winning everything that night. I'm like, what's going on?
True.
So,
That's true.
So you're definitely giving out something. We're giving out something. So I do think the pitchers are tough to know. I got to dig a little further on some of them. Morton. I still like that Thompson a little bit. Walker, Brubaker, Cobb, Maeda. Morton and Maeda do make the most sense to me, especially Maeda. But, none of these guys are without risk or sure things. Manoah, McClanahan on the list as well. We mentioned Lopez. I think I can go ahead and cross him out because I like enough of these other guys in a similar price range better. But I really like Philly, Minnesota. I like the Dodgers and Boston. Philly, then Minnesota, then the Dodgers, then Boston. The Dodgers, if no Caleb Smith, excuse me. Then you get Boston and the White Sox. I do think as far as one-offs or cheap value goes, I have Larnach, Soler, Benintendi, Real Muto. Again, value is relative. Brad Miller, assuming he's in the lineup. Jesus Sanchez, Anthony Santander, Austin Hayes, Severino, and Engel. And my favorites are Larnach, Real Muto, and Miller, assuming that Miller's in the lineup, which I'd be shocked if he wasn't.
If there were great pitchers to pay up for, I would say I like Baltimore as like my favorite. But there's just it doesn't do anything for me. There's no DeGroms or anybody up there that I really just need to have to pay a lot for. It's just I think I kind of want to just splash around with some of these pitchers and get to these Phillies, you know what I mean? And or get to these Bostons, and get to these Dodgers that are just, that you have to pay a little bit much for. So with that said, Maeda, I mean, he's tough at 7,100 against Detroit. It just is. Manoa, Tampa's better than Detroit, right? And I would venture to say Maeda at this point is better than Manoa. So Maeda is probably a better play than Manoa, but he's probably going to be twice his own. I don't know. Walker, I think Walker is fine. Also, Morton is okay. I got to watch for ownership again. Maybe like you said, maybe Brubaker is just the nut play here. Maybe he's the one that could score 20 fantasy points and everybody else busting. I think it's possible.
Yeah, and maybe even I actually think he's got some room on that. I just think you could say the same about Manoah, about Maeda. The weird one that no one will play against the righty dominant lineup is Velasquez, who
I was gonna say Lopez, but okay.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying Velasquez, put up 32. I mean, that was against Miami, of course, but it's a tough matchup, tough spot. I'm just thinking out loud like who these guys are, but the pitching is going to be tough today. Hopefully we'll have some clarification. I mean, if Blake Snell's pitching, that would give us another guy we could actually put as a real pitcher against Colorado there. So that would be nice. But I do think you want to mix it up with your pitching a little bit today. And there's some, those stacks that I really like, that Philly, Minnesota, Boston, Chicago situation. So that's what I'll be heaviest on.
I am probably out today for 6. But
Okay.
I will let you know for sure by 5.
Okay.
And everybody, I'll be in and out over the weekends, with different stuff. And that's it.
Awesome, guys. Hey, good luck to everyone. I'll be around this weekend as well. And in Discord, check out the stuff while it's still free. It will not be for much longer. And let's go into the All-Star break with a killing. Let us know if anybody does really well tonight. And hopefully we'll see you guys at the top of the leaderboards.